Hey there, folks. Welcome to Local Film Talk, the show where we talk to local filmmakers about what they're up to, and we are back again to talk about Cinema Symposium, the film screening group put on by Andrew and Eric here. Eric's actually new to the Hangout, so thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Yeah, Cinema Symposium is a monthly screening series where you guys get Hollywood movies from the past that you think will provoke an interesting conversation. So tell us a little bit about the symposium, because you said that things are actually going to be changing up a little this month.
Sure. Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. So yeah, the symposium, we've been doing this. This will be our 7th film that we're showing this April, and the whole idea is to sort of show art house films or films that maybe were great in their time but haven't been seen in a while, and invite people to come together and share their experiences, share their reviews, opinions, likes, dislikes about the movie, and just really create an environment where that feels safe and comfortable to do so.
Okay. So you two are the ones who pick the films. Are they usually nostalgia picks for you guys?
What do you think, Eric? I don't know. I don't know that they are. We sort of surprised ourselves with our picks, especially this one that's coming up this month, I think.
You guys have had quite a range of choices.
Yeah, we do try to have a criteria for the films that we choose. A lot of it is actually it's actually funny that you say that, because there have been some more serious and dark tones to some of the films we've shown. And it's a bit ironic, because we actually do try to use criteria that finds films with hope and redemption, even forgiveness and just sort of positive words in that vein. So we think this. We are looking forward to sort of how those will continue to shape the films that will take us, and hopefully, I mean, as you've seen, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to watch some sappy film that is a chick flick or something. Nothing like that. So,
my wife will be sad to hear you're not watching it.
Well, we might watch some chick flicks. I mean, I think one of the criteria is that the movies have to strive for greatness in their execution or in their ideas. And there's a lot of films that do this, but it's still a limited number based on the amount of films that are in existence. So we want to show artistry. We want to show great effort on people's parts to make something unique and special. And so that keeps driving us to find more and more interesting films. And I'm excited about the idea of pulling films from every decade, every genre, every walk of life that we can find, and not just American films, not just Hollywood films.
Mm-hmm. And one of the big pieces of criteria that I seem to have noticed, or one of the common threads that I've noticed, is that the movies provoke conversation amongst the audience, and that's one thing that you don't see in a lot of screening series that you guys do, is that you have a conversation. You talk about the movie ahead of time. Sometimes you have a presenter who talks about some of the points of the movie, and then of course there's a conversation afterwards. So the movies, sometimes they're movies that aspire to be art or say something important. On the other hand, I know there was the Jimmy Stewart one you showed around Christmas. Was that Shop Around the Corner?
Right.
Which, that one may not have. The interesting thing about movies like that is that it may not have aspired to anything great at the time, but given a little time and a little historical background and what has resulted afterwards, time can add history and interesting, thought-provoking conversations to stuff. So it's interesting what becomes important over time.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think, the name Cinema Symposium has been carefully chosen for that reason, I think. Cinema, really focusing on the artistry, good film, and then the symposium part is this idea of actually taking the time to really dive in and to have sort of more in-depth discussion around what we just experienced, before and after even. And what we're trying to explore now is actually sort of take it to that next level, which is what we had this last time. We actually had sort of on a scholarly level, we had someone come in and present before the screening, and it was really well received, which we were encouraged by.
Mm-hmm. and that can be helpful sometimes too if you're not sure what to expect about a movie, especially if it's something a little older and you've been told that this is a really good movie and you're watching it going, I'm waiting to see what's clicking for everybody about it, to have a little bit of a heads up ahead of time and somebody tell you kind of what the significance of things are can kind of help you go into it ready to appreciate the finer elements of the movie, as opposed to watching, you watch something and then like 3 days later you're like, okay, I think I'm starting to figure out what that movie was about. I wish I'd thought of this sooner so I could have participated in the conversation.
Absolutely, and one of the things, that exact scenario is what Eric and I talked about early on, is that's going to happen to a lot of people that come to the films, or they're going to need to leave right after the movie and not get to sort of voice their opinions. And so Eric's been designing our website around the idea of this being an online community of film fans and scholars who can share their opinions and get into film debates and post reviews and opinions and, hey, what was that shot all about? And I had a dream about some actor from a movie 3 nights ago. Like those kind of things I think are really important, and it's not going to happen that often in face-to-face conversations with people, but it could happen often on the website.
Right. And it makes it easier, the meetups are only once a month, so you only get, in some cases 12 times a year to see some of these people, whereas, as we've seen with groups like the geek community with cons and stuff like that, people will get to know each other online and in forums and everything, and then they all go out to Comic-Con or Dragon Con or something, and people that you've never seen face-to-face you already have a relationship with. So it's another chance for people to connect more often than that 2 or 3 hours once a month.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I think, part of it, too, is just with that, also just trying to be sensitive to people's time, because obviously some of the films we would love to show, it's going to be tough because they're like 3 hours or longer even. How do you sort of present that to a group and then require or ask them to stay and discuss it? If you're really doing that, that is asking a lot. And Drew and I both.
I'm counting on you guys showing the director's cut of Das Boot sometime.
Yes.
Yeah, very good, very good. Awesome.
And the 9-hour director's cut of Greed is at some point too.
But Drew and I are both, we're both family men. We have kids, and so there's that element too of just, there's a lot going on for all of us in our lives. So what if we could try to encourage and continue that conversation when it's convenient to others, and bring it online, and not only move it, but then like you kind of brought up, have it be sort of a continual thing that goes on throughout the weeks that we aren't meeting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love the idea of the community, and I love what you guys have done so far. I've been to, I think I only missed the first 2 or 3 screenings. I've been going every month since December. But it sounds like you guys are getting ready to change things up again. You were talking about possibly a change of venue and some new stuff, even a new website. So tell us what changes are coming.
Sure. Well, we can talk about the website because we know about that. I'll talk a little bit about the venue, but Eric, why don't you tell them what they can expect out of the website?
The website's been it's been sort of a work in progress for months now, and we have something up currently, and it's been serving part of the purpose that we've been trying to go after. But all the while, we've had always more that we've wanted to do. So I'm sort of already kind of relaunching the site, if you will. This is going to be a cleaner design and theme. I think it'll feel a little bit more what we've been hoping for. But beyond that, some of the features that we're trying to add, I think actually, Bob, we shared a little bit with you last time, is we'd also like to try to provide a place where we can curate a lot of the local events that are happening in the Triangle that aren't necessarily brought to one place. They're kind of, you have to know what sites to go to and what places to check out. What's coming up this month, this year. So just a kind of an easy, here's a visual calendar with things that we think are worth checking out, or things that we've heard of. Eventually, we might get to a point where some of our members can even add to it themselves, as they run across things, and really just kind of let the members build out this site and its content, and kind of let it, see where it goes from there.
So like a map a map / calendar that shows you all the different movies going on in the area. I mean, obviously not all the first run, 50 theaters that Age of Ultron is showing in, but
right.
you can
find that anywhere else you need. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really exciting, and I'm always like the last one to find out about cool movies that are playing around town, and I would think that I would know this earlier than I do, but it's like, oh, I just missed such and such playing at the museum, or, so if you look around the Triangle, we've got the Rialto, the Colony, we've got the Museum of Art, we have the Carolina Theater, NC State, and it just kind of extends out, and there's a lot of local filmmakers that are showing films regularly, and so we want our members, we want the public to know how much is going on locally for film. And, we'd love eventually for our site to be a place that people can even talk about those films, that they went and saw, or a group meetup, hey guys, let's all go see Bottle Rocket at the Colony that's playing, this week. And that's awesome. We want to encourage this kind of thing across the board, not just for our own films that we're showing.
Mm-hmm. Well, that'd be really great. Personally, I can't think of any other resources out there that do that. Like you said, you have to hit up a lot of different places to get all that info. So it's an ambitious idea, but that'd be a great resource.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of work to get it started. We've already just realized that, but I think it's worthwhile. And as we sort of form relationships with these other theaters and other cinema series, and maybe there's a way we can streamline the process and help promote their events and things like that. So. Yeah, it's fun. There's a lot of cool movies, and we want to be another resource in the community for film, but we also hope that our sort of scholarly pursuits provide something unique as well. Like a lot of these films that are showing, it's an experience to go see it on the big screen, but that's the experience they're offering. And so we want to offer that plus the discussion, plus the community, all these other kinds of ways that people can get involved.
Right. So that's the website, which would be an awesome resource for people to have. But the event, the event is also a big part of the symposium. Tell us about the changes coming there.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I was going to add one more thing about the site, if that works, because I realized we glossed over that. But one of the things that I just definitely wanted to still mention is the site and our project. For lack of a better word right now, is we're working on getting our 501c3 status, and this is an important sort of piece of the puzzle, because we will be relying fully on our members not only to sort of curate and provide the content to the site and make this a successful sort of meetup, if you will. It also is something that we're looking to the members to kind of help donate and actually make it possible, because we are having to go out and buy the rights to show these films every month, and currently, I mean, that's out of Drew's and my own pocket. So as we sort of move beyond that, we really do hope to kind of have this be sort of self-sustaining and something that the site will facilitate for all of us.
So was it 501c, I think it was? That's
right.
Nonprofit status?
Nonprofit, so yeah.
Okay.
So the advantage of that for people that donate is that's a tax deduction immediately for any sort of gift in kind that they give to the organization. And I mean, this is not something that we want people to feel pressured to do. The alternative is us charging admission each time and sort of changing the game of it a little bit. And we want it to be open and for people to feel like they can sort of dip in and out if they're interested. But I think the site has the ability to offer a lot more benefits to the members, and one of the things Eric's talked about was this sort of members can add content, and I'm really excited about the idea of us having sort of a blog and news story kind of component where if people want to post reviews of films, if they want to post criticism of films, we can work with them to kind of create like an online magazine, so to speak, about film, and so. We'll be writing some of that, but we really, people that are passionate about it, we'd love to talk to them about, contributing to the site, and people that want to get, quote unquote published, there's an opportunity to do so in a place that people would read their work. So
that'd be very cool. And it's, yeah, it sounds like a great resource that unfortunately, even though websites always seem so cheap, it seems like it takes nothing to go into them, but there are costs associated with it, even if you're not counting the time people put in. So, and like you said, at the moment that kind of stuff comes out of your pocket, not even counting the couple $100 it costs to get the rights to show a movie. So,
Right.
I like that idea, the value for value model. If you get a little something out of these screenings, give a little something back to help make sure that you guys are able to keep going. I like that idea.
Absolutely, yeah, and we're going to continue to explore fundraising options and sponsorships and things, but we want to make it a sustainable enterprise over time, and so it's going to come down to being able to cover our operating budget to do this. But I think it's a reasonable goal, and we're going to have to see how our membership grows and gets involved over time.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really great. I like that. So, what was there anything else you wanted to mention about the website, or does that cover all the pieces that aren't moving at the moment?
Yeah, I think that's probably the gist of it. Again, Drew and I love to be big dreamers, and we have lots of ideas, but that's what we're going to go for now and see where it takes us.
Yeah,
okay.
And so please, everybody can check out cinemasymposium.com. I think, I won't put a date on this for Erik because I don't want him to stay up all night for the next few nights. But the site, the new version of the site will be launching soon. The current version is available. You might have to log in to get on there. I'm not sure, but there you can still sort of explore what we're about on the current site. But when the new site comes up, I think people are going to be really excited about it.
Mm. And at the very least, if people need to look up information about the events, about the screenings, where and when and all that kind of stuff, that would be the resource to go to look for cinemasymposium.com, or
Yes.
I believe you guys have a Facebook page too, right?
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is CinSimNC.
Okay.
So we can, all that stuff is, and we're developing our social media presence as well. So as you know, Bob, it's hard to get these new things out into the marketplace, and so it takes time for people to discover what you're up to and what you're doing. But hopefully, the more people find out about it, the more they tell their friends, and it becomes a thing.
Yeah, and it's tough these days because there are so many different fronts you have to attack on. Like you said, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all this different stuff, and you can't, you neglect one, and you never know. That could be, you start talking to people, and they're like, "What's your Instagram account?" I didn't do Instagram. I got 4 other things I got to keep track of. So it's a huge undertaking. I'm really impressed with what you guys have managed to do with it so far.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we feel like we're doing what we can. We'd like to do more, but with full-time jobs and families and lots of other extracurricular activities, we're doing everything we can and then some.
Right. So tell us about this next event.
Yes, so the next event is Sunday, April 26th, and we will be announcing our new space. It's also in downtown Raleigh. We just need to confirm with the venue that they're good for everything, but I think people are going to really like this new space. The picture and sound quality is really great, and there's going to be food and drink options available. So look for that on Facebook and in our mailing list and all these other things this week, and we'll have all the details about the time and location. But Sunday, April 26th, go ahead and mark your calendar. It'll be in the early evening. We like to start the shows around 7:30 so people can have eaten or come to eat and then get home at a fairly reasonable time for the next day of work. So, Erik, you want to tell them what the film is? Make our big unveiling.
Yeah, we've decided to go with Grand Canyon this month. So this is a great one of those films that's kind of, a lot of people say, sort of slipped through the cracks. It's definitely one of those that's kind of worth revisiting in our current time and society. It first came out, I think it was in '91, and has a really interesting cast and just an interesting storyline too. Yeah, Drew, you want to give more of an intro there?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was a surprising sort of movie that popped on our radar. We kind of we throw lists back and forth at each other of movies, and Grand Canyon was directed by Lawrence Kasdan, who is probably most famous for The Big Chill. but most sort of loved for writing Raiders of the Lost Ark and Empire Strikes Back, and is currently writing the 2 new Star Wars films that are coming out. So he's got his geek cred pretty solid, but he's a sort of an American auteur type director, a writer-director who has written a lot of personal stories. And Grand Canyon was him really, I think, coming to grips with his place in the world and what was happening in the world. And interestingly enough, he co-wrote the movie with his wife. So I think there was a very, just sort of personal reason they needed to tell this story together. And yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely dated in some areas. There's sort of a late 80s, early 90s fashion, music sort of cheese factor in some places, but I think the movie transcends that in a lot of ways because it's very poetic, it's very beautiful, and it has a lot to say, and it asks a lot of questions.
There's a lot of relational elements too, and I think that's kind of really where you see probably where him and his wife, as they were co-writing it, this is kind of coming through. Most likely, issues that they were wrestling with and dealing with as a family in their marriage, and so it's interesting to kind of just see how it interplays throughout the story and how different lives intersect.
Mm-hmm. Now this is not one that I've seen before, so I'm looking forward to seeing it for the first time at the symposium. So the first thing I did when you guys told me what the title was going to be, of course, I went to YouTube and watched the trailer for it. And the first thing that came to my mind was Do the Right Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a LA version, and this is oversimplifying it, kind of a LA version of Do the Right Thing. Lots of, in fact, if I really had to badly generalize it, I would say something between Crash, the Paul Haggis Oscar winner, and Do the Right Thing. It's like you said, it's the early 90s. It's about different stories about people in LA dealing with different racial and class contrasts, and how all their stories kind of interweave together. And like you said, there's definitely some of that early, late 80s, early 90s things that were probably very authentic at the time that now your memory kind of whitewashes over that part of your past.
Yes.
Were our clothes really that cheesy? Oh my God, they were.
Yeah. Whenever a movie tries to be really like topical and modern, looking back on it, you sort of cringe because those things are the parts that don't hold up. But yeah, I mean, Crash, definitely Do the Right Thing. I think that's a really interesting connection because I love Do the Right Thing. There's sort of a series of these interconnected films that we talked about, and Robert Altman sort of was famous for doing these with Nashville and The Player he had done around the same time, and then Shortcuts came out right after that, right after Grand Canyon, and then Crash years later, Magnolia. What else was on the list? Babel.
Traffic was one like that.
Yeah, Traffic was like that. So I think there's sort of always that desire as a storyteller to sort of tell a big story with lots of intersecting characters and plots, and and as the sort of creator of a story, you start feeling like, how does the world really work? How do we bump into people? How do we know that this person's going to change our life when we meet them in a random event? It starts to become interesting, to look at your own life in the context of a movie that's trying to sort of recreate that complexity and synchronicity and all those other kinds of things that can happen. Seemingly unknown.
It kind of takes that idea of how sometimes you're standing in line at the grocery store and somebody blows up about something, and to you that's just someone else going about their day, and you don't know anything about them, and you wonder what would cause, what kind of day were they having that you don't know about that was cause them to act like that. And movies like this are kind of a wish fulfillment about that. What all these people you meet during the day, what else have they been up to? Kind of like when you're having a bad day or something, and you go out in public and you're dealing with people who have no idea what your mental state is or what you're going through at that moment. To just kind of be able to tell a story, particularly about a large issue, and how everybody in different areas and different, like I said, classes, races, all that stuff are dealing with their own side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, Eric, our first unofficial Cinema Symposium, we watched Magnolia a couple years ago at Eric's house with a couple other people, and that was kind of like, oh, we want to do this. Let's pick a movie that would do that, and Magnolia was our first choice. And it's definitely one of those kind of movies, where it's just characters whose lives are kind of falling apart and they crash into each other and stuff happens. And so I think there's something universal about that and something kind of fun about that and surprising about that. And so we wanted to pick a movie that would, give our members and people that come out a chance to bump into each other and see how their lives kind of lead to other things.
Did this movie win any awards at the time it came out? Because again, it's one that's kind of faded a little from most people's consciousness, but you do hear the name come up every now and then. So it seems like it had some resonance at the time.
It had some resonance. I think people critically really liked it, but I think it did rather poorly at the box office and in the public perception. I mean, these kind of movies are not necessarily mainstream crowd pleaser films. They tend to work on a personal level to individuals that say, oh, I know somebody like that, or that happened to me. But to get people out to the multiplex, these aren't usually those kind of movies.
No, which it's funny, how this fits into Lawrence Kasdan's greater filmography. Talk about movies that capture the public imagination and put butts in seats. This is a guy with a hell of a pedigree. Like you said, he's the writer of 2 Star Wars movies, soon to be 3 or 4. Writer of Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you look at his, just his credits throughout the 80s. Let's see, after Raiders of the Lost Ark, Continental Divide, I'm not familiar with that one, but Body Heat, The Big Chill, Silverado, I believe, was really popular. And in the 90s, he gets into stuff like The Bodyguard and Wyatt Earp, so he's pretty accomplished in a lot of different genres. How would you say this one fits into his overall filmography?
I think it's very closely related to The Big Chill, which is a movie I really love and saw again recently, and I thought, sort of despite its datedness, it held up really well character-wise. I think he gets his characters really well. I think one of the nice things I like about writers is when they love their characters. Even the bad ones, they're endeared to them. They're still trying to understand them, and I think this really connects to The Big Chill in a nice way, and it has some of the same actors, of course, But yeah, I think this one is unique in his filmography. I think because maybe he had earned that sort of Hollywood cred at that point, where he could take a big risk and make whatever he wanted. Which all filmmakers sort of want to get to, is that place where they can just roll the dice and say, "This is the movie I always wanted to make." And a lot of times it doesn't work out, but they got to do it. And so I think it's a unique movie in his filmography, but it's connected to a lot of the ideas. He's made a movie 2 years ago called Darling Companion that also had Kevin Kline, that the reviews I read said it was connected to that as well, but I have not seen that film, so I don't know what it's about.
Kevin Kline seems to be his, muse, for lack of a better term, because he's been in about 5 or 6 of these movies. Getting past Grand Canyon, when you get into the 90s, he directed French Kiss, that Darling Companion movie you mentioned. He also directed Dreamcatcher. I'd forgotten about that one, that Stephen King movie. Holy cow. Yeah,
that movie, I remember that movie being panned and razzied as one of the worst films. So if you notice, there's about a 9-year gap between that movie and his next one. So I think Dreamcatcher hit it pretty hard, because he didn't work after that. It was not a good movie.
And his writing credits end at Wyatt Earp in 1994, and the next thing he wrote, according to this, was Episode 7, which he's working on now, 2015. So that's crap, can't do math. 21-year gap in writing.
Yeah, I don't know if it was, I'd have to look up to see if it was personal reasons or if he just wasn't getting his films made or if he'd fallen out of favor. But I'm glad he's
after that list of credits, he just didn't need to work anymore.
I mean, hopefully he was just having a good time, you know. But I'm glad that they brought him back around to the Star Wars universe because he is definitely one of the people that made those films good because he was able to bring his love of character and his love of story to that genre and really elevate the work going on in those films. You know, obviously they look great and sound great and have amazing, you know, sort of themes, but I think Kasdan really grounded it in real people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, you know, again, this isn't, I'd have to ask you guys, but at that point, you know, at the time that Grand Canyon came out, he had directed, it looks like, almost a dozen or about 8 or 9 movies before that. So how confident does he seem as a director in that movie? Is he pretty, you know, does it seem like the culmination of somebody who's directed quite a few movies over the years? So you seem on pretty solid ground?
Yeah, I would say so. You know, it's got a visual poetry to it. And, you know, I realized that the last film we showed, Network, was the cinematographer was Owen Roisman, and Owen Roisman also filmed Grand Canyon. So we've got some connection between the two films happening there. But yeah, who's a, you know, groundbreaking, stellar DP. And so I think between him and Kasdan on Grand Canyon, they were able to do stuff visually that is pretty unique. I mean, at least for its time. You know, again, I think all this is going to be really interesting for all of us to look at again in a new light and a new context because it's not a film I've watched, you know, a dozen times and have seen even recently. So I'm excited to see it with everyone and see how it holds up.
Mm-hmm. Now, when did you guys, both of you, when was the last time you saw this movie?
Erik probably saw it before, more recently than I have. You remember when you saw it last?
Yeah, I think it was probably in 2006. Was probably the last time I saw it.
Oh, wow.
I think I saw it in the 90s on HBO. It used to come on, like, HBO on repeat, you know, when they used to only show, like, the same movie for, like, a couple months, you know. I think that's how I caught it. And I probably didn't even watch it in order because I wasn't probably supposed to be watching it as a kid or something, so I probably watched like the ending and then watched the middle at some other time and then watched the beginning, you know. So, yeah, it'll feel like a whole new movie to me when I sit down to watch it again.
Yeah, from beginning to end, there are a couple movies like that that I've never sat down and watched all the way through. But you know, like you said, I've seen because they show it on cable so many times. You know, in my childhood, you flip past it and you watch it for a half hour and you move on. So Jaws is one of those movies for me. I've never seen Jaws beginning to end, but I've seen the whole movie piecemeal probably 10 times.
Right.
Yeah. No, there's something fun about that, you know. There's something sort of surreal about sort of just seeing parts of a film and not seeing the rest of it. But you know, we advise everyone to see the whole movie this time on April 26th. Come and watch the whole thing from start to finish. You'll like it that way.
Especially up there on the big screen. It's always nice when you know, it's one thing when you say, "Oh, cool, that movie I've been meaning to catch up with is on Netflix or Amazon Prime," or you know, my friend has it on DVD and I can borrow it. You know, it's it is fun to catch up with something at home, but in a lot of cases, especially, you know, movies that, you know, big ones that are meant to be big and cinematic, to be able to see it on the big screen is really something. You know, I keep hearing from people, I think Lawrence of Arabia is one of those ones people always say, if you have the chance to see that on a movie screen, check it out, because, you know, watching it on your TV is nothing compared to...
No, it's not, no. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that in 70 millimeter, so I think I've maxed that one out. It's unbelievable to watch that movie at that scale.
I'll bet. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. April 28th or 26th, you said.
26th, it's a Sunday night, less than 2 weeks from now. So you know, mark your calendars, save the date, and we'll be sending out invites and Facebook events and all kinds of stuff this week to get everybody excited about the film. So we hope to see as many people as possible.
Well, cool. Any parting thoughts? That was kind of parting thoughts, but was there anything else you wanted to add?
I'm really interested to see what people will think of this, because again, it's one of those kind of off the beaten path, but we've chosen because I think it is definitely worth revisiting. And I think even just the title itself, Grand Canyon, and then you're talking about like these lives intersecting, something that Drew and I were talking about earlier. It's just, it feels like it's trying to get at something bigger, something larger, you know, physically, obviously the Grand Canyon, but also just sort of in our lives. There's something bigger. So that's my parting thought.
Yeah. Yeah, and just I don't know. We'll all see if we like it together. I mean, we're not afraid to put something up there that people have something negative to say about, and we'll see how that goes. So, you know, they can't all be masterpieces, but maybe you'd be surprised what actually turns out to be a masterpiece in the long run.
Right, and even if you don't like the movie, hopefully, you know, that's a conversation right there. Articulate to me why you didn't like the movie. At least you're talking about it.
Mm.
So, well, cool.
Well, excellent. Well, yeah. Find out more at Cinema Symposium.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys, both of you, for taking the time to talk to me about it. I'm looking forward to the event. I hope other people are excited about it. If you're hearing about this for the first time from this show, like Andrew said, check out cinemasymposium.com. Soon to be relaunched. The new, prettier, bigger, badder, faster, stronger website. And I'm also excited to see the new venue. It sounds like that's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
It's always cool when your project takes a new turn or goes up to the next level.
Exactly. So, well, cool. We're glad you've stuck with us, Bob. That you keep coming out to see the shows, and you know, tell your friends, and we'll keep making movies happen here in the Triangle.
Excellent. Well, hopefully both our viewers will come out and check out the movie too. So, thank you guys very much for taking the time to talk to me, and looking forward to this event and future events too.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.